Hi. Let's cut the lights for a sec, because sometimes you gotta sit in the dark to finally see the truth. You think you were under a spell? Now you're just slowly forgetting who the hell you were. Let's break this down raw, real, and unfiltered. The way life hits you when you ain't ready for it. Psychology ain't just textbooks and fancy words. Nah, it's the battlefield you walk into every time you care about somebody who don't care the same way back. Attraction? It ain't soft. It ain't romantic. Sometimes it's a war zone where your heart runs toward the very thing your mind keeps screaming to run from. See, people think attraction is simple. I like you, you like me, cool, let's kick it. But nah, attraction is a trickster. It's like this hidden puppeteer pulling strings you didn't agree to. And the craziest part, half the time you ain't even attracted to the person. You're attracted to the feeling they give you. The rush, the danger, the mystery, that little spark in your chest that makes you feel alive after months of feeling like a faded background character in your own damn story. And that's where the psychology kicks in. You ever notice how the people who give you less attention somehow get more of your mind? The more they pull away, the more you lean in. It's not weakness, it's human wiring. Your brain hates unfinished stories. It hates unanswered questions. So when someone keeps you guessing, keeps you confused, keeps you wondering where you stand, your mind locks onto them like a puzzle it needs to solve. It's the scarcity effect. When something feels rare, your brain tells you it's valuable. Even if it's not, even if it's toxic, even if you're breaking your back emotionally just to hold on to it. It's like you're starving and someone hands you a crumb, your whole body treats it like a feast. Not because it's enough, but because you're desperate for the next bite. And then there's the chase. Damn, the chase. Humans are weird. You give them something too easy, too consistent, too available, and suddenly it's, maybe later. But give them something unpredictable, something that slips through their hands right when they think they've got it. That's when obsession grows, because the mind isn't built to love peace. It's built to hunt the thing that keeps running. You know what's wild? Half the time, the attraction ain't even about the person's good qualities. It's about yourself. It's you trying to prove something. You're trying to win something. You're trying to complete some unfinished story inside you. Maybe you never got the validation you needed growing up. Maybe someone made you feel invisible. Maybe deep down you're just trying to prove you're worth being chosen. So you chase the one person who refuses to choose you, thinking that if they finally do, it'll heal something inside you that's been bleeding for years. But that's the trap. That's the psychological hook. The brain starts releasing chemicals every time you get a little attention. That text, that smile, that call. It becomes a hit. A hit of dopamine, a hit of finally, a hit of see, maybe they do care. But right when you feel the high, they go cold again. And what happens? You crave the next hit even more. You ain't addicted to them. You're addicted to the cycle. And the worst part, you start romanticizing them, turning their coldness into mystery, or turning their disrespect into maybe they're complicated, turning their lack of effort into maybe I just need to try harder. Nah, stop lying to yourself. They're not complicated. They're not a puzzle. They're just not choosing you. And your brain can't handle that truth, so it makes up a story to protect you. But all it does is keep you stuck. Attraction becomes dangerous when it feels like a challenge instead of a connection. When you're fighting for someone's attention instead of receiving it naturally. When you're bending your whole personality just to fit into the shape of someone who ain't even looking your way. But here's the flip side, the part nobody talks about. Real attraction, the healthy kind, is calm, it's consistent. It doesn't make your heart sprint like you're running from a burning house. It doesn't confuse you or make you question your worth. Real attraction feels like breathing after holding your breath for too long. It feels like being seen without performing. It feels like someone choosing you without you having to audition for the role. But to get that, you gotta rewire your mind. You gotta stop chasing the high and start choosing the peace. You gotta realize that the people who treat you like an option were never meant to be the priority. Your attraction isn't broken, you've just been aiming it at the wrong targets. Once you understand the psychology behind your own heart, you stop falling for the illusion. You stop craving the cold. You stop running after ghosts. And you start choosing the kind of connection that doesn't feel like a battle you're destined to lose. Let's ride through this twisted carnival they call the emotional roller coaster, where your heart gets strapped into a seat you never asked for, and the operator Yeah, that's the person who keeps pushing your buttons like they're testing how much chaos one soul can survive. This ain't no cute amusement park ride. This is the kind that rattles your bones, flips your stomach, and leaves you wondering why you ever got on in the first place, yet somehow you keep coming back for another round. See, the emotional roller coaster effect hits different because it doesn't start with the fall. Nah, it starts with the climb. Slow, steady, hopeful. They lift you up with sweet words, attention, closeness. They make you feel like you're finally being seen, like the universe hit pause just to spotlight you. And right when you think you reached the top, right when you think, damn, maybe this is finally something real, boom, the drop hits out of nowhere. They pull back, feel cold, disappear. Act like they forgot the same connection they were hyping up yesterday. And your mind, it panics. It scrambles for answers. It tries to replay every moment, every conversation, like you're trying to find a glitch in a system that never made sense to begin with. And that's the messed up part. The high was so high that the fall feels 10 times deeper. You crash. You question yourself. You start thinking, what did I do? What changed? Why did the vibe switch? But here's the truth. No one wants to swallow. Nothing changed. The fall was part of the plan. People who create emotional roller coasters, they know exactly what they're doing. They're not confused. They're not complicated. They're not hard to love. They're just feeding you enough sunshine to keep you alive, then tossing you back into the storm so you never feel stable enough to leave. It's psychological warfare disguised as affection. Your mind gets conditioned to chaos. It starts craving the high because the lows hurt too much. And every tiny hit of attention feels like oxygen when you've been drowning. That random text after days of silence, that hey, you okay after ignoring your feelings, that half-hearted apology thrown at you like spare change, your brain lights up like fireworks. Because inconsistency rewires you. It makes every small moment feel huge, every scrap feel like a feast, every little smile feel like a miracle. You're not weak, you're chemically trapped. And the cycle keeps spinning. The climb where they pull you in with intensity, charm, promises. The drop where they withdraw, act busy, act bored. The loop where you blame yourself, then forgive them, then hope the next climb lasts longer. But roller coasters are designed to make you scream, not stay. Deep down, you know this. You know, you're not happy. You know, the peace never lasts. You know, your body is tired from riding emotional waves like it's your job. But there's something addictive about the unpredictability, like your heart became a gambler, betting everything on one lucky moment. And the saddest part, you start normalizing pain. You start accepting anxiety as excitement, emotional whiplash as passion, silence as mystery. You begin to think that love is supposed to feel like survival, like proving yourself over and over, like earning the right to be cared for. But that's the lie the roller coaster sells you. Real connection doesn't toss you around like a rag doll. Real connection doesn't make you nauseous with doubt. Real connection doesn't disappear and reappear like a magician feeding on your confusion. Real connection feels steady like ground that doesn't shake beneath your feet every time you take a step. But to get that, you gotta get off the ride. And yeah, that's the hardest part. Because stepping off means facing the silence, facing the withdrawal, facing the fact that the highs will stop coming and you'll have to sit with the emptiness you kept avoiding. But that temporary silence is the detox your soul's been begging for. You gotta remind yourself that unpredictable people aren't exciting, they're exhausting. That being confused isn't romantic, it's manipulation. That you deserve someone who doesn't put your heart on a leash and yank it whenever they feel lonely. The emotional roller coaster only works if you stay strapped in. Once you step off, once you choose peace over adrenaline, once you realize stability isn't boring, it's healing. That's when everything changes. You walk away. The ride keeps running, but this time, you're not the one screaming anymore. Let's talk about this trap people fall into without even noticing, the validation hunger trap. It's like walking around with an empty stomach, but instead of craving food, you're craving someone to look at you like you matter. You're starving for a nod, a smile, a text. You're important, even if it's coming from the last person who deserves to hand it to you. And the crazy part, you don't even realize you're hungry until someone gives you a taste. And suddenly you can't stop chasing the next bite. Validation hunger ain't weakness. It ain't desperation. It's the result of living in a world where people only clap for you when you bleed for them. Where you show up, you care, and somehow that still ain't enough to make someone choose you completely. So your mind starts craving scraps. Just a little acknowledgement, just a little attention, just a little, you still matter. But little by little, those scraps turn into your whole diet, and that's when a trap snaps shut. See, people who play games, they can smell validation hunger from a mile away. They see you waiting for that one message, that one compliment, that one moment where they finally treat you the way you've been begging to be treated. They know if they stay silent long enough, you'll break. If they disappear long enough, you'll forgive. If they ignore you just the right amount, you'll cling harder. It's sick, but it's real, because the hunger makes you blind. You start thinking, maybe if I'm nicer, maybe if I respond quicker, maybe if I stop asking questions, maybe if I lower my expectations. Nah, you're not lowering expectations. You're starving, and your brain is telling you that the only way to feel full again is to chase the person who fed you once, even if they haven't fed you since. Validation hunger makes you forget your worth, makes you forget logic, makes you forget the version of you that used to stand tall with a full chest and a steady heartbeat. You turn into a scavenger searching for emotional crumbs like they're gold. And here's the wildest part. Sometimes the person you're craving validation from ain't even that amazing. They average at best. But the moment they withhold approval, your mind paints them as something bigger than life. Because the less someone gives you, the more your brain fills in the gaps. It's like chasing a shadow that keeps shifting. Every time you think you can grab it, the light moves. And that movement, that uncertainty, that inconsistency, that's what your hunger clings to. You start treating their validation like a prize, like if you earn it, you'll finally feel complete. But let's be real, even when you get it, it never lasts. It fades in minutes. You feel good for 5 seconds, then boom, you're craving the next hit. The trap resets. Validation hunger is basically the mind begging, please tell me I matter. Please tell me I'm worth choosing. But look around. You've been asking the wrong people. People who don't even know how to validate themselves. People who throw compliments like breadcrumbs and expect you to chase them through the forest like some lost soul desperate for warmth. The trap keeps you focused outward, waiting for someone else's opinion to build the foundation of how you see yourself. And every time you look outward, you lose a piece of inward. Every time you ask someone to define you, you hand them the power to break you. But here's the part that flips the whole game. You don't break the validation hunger trap by getting more validation. You break it by starving the wrong sources, by refusing the crumbs, by rejecting the people who only show up when they feel like feeding their ego with your attention, by choosing silence over begging, by choosing distance over desperation. You break the trap by reminding yourself you were somebody before they notice you. You'll be somebody after they stop. You don't need their approval to breathe. You don't need their attention to feel seen. You don't need their words to feel worthy. Because validation that comes from the wrong person is poison disguised as sugar. And once you stop craving it, once you stop running after people who only give you enough to keep you coming back, that's when the hunger fades. That's when the trap opens. That's when you walk out stronger than you ever walked in. You stop starving. You start choosing. And suddenly, the people you once begged for crumbs look small, real small, compared to the version of you that finally knows your own worth. Breaking spell ain't some fairy tale magic trick. It's not waving a wand or whispering some pretty little mantra. Breaking the spell is war. It's pulling yourself out of a hypnotic chokehold you didn't even realize you walked into. It's waking up after months, maybe years, of being emotionally drugged by someone who knew exactly how to twist your mind without ever laying a hand on you. And the worst part, you didn't fall because you were weak. You fell because you were real. You cared. You loved. You hoped. And that hope was the chain they wrapped around your ankles. See, the spell starts small. It starts when someone treats you just good enough to keep you around, but never good enough to make you feel secure. They give you glimpses, just glimpses of the person they could be. They show you pieces of the connection you wish existed. They drop crumbs of affection that land on your wounded places, and suddenly it feels like healing. But it's not healing. It's sedation. It's emotional anesthesia. And by the time you wake up, you don't even recognize how far you drifted from yourself. Breaking the spell means facing the truth you kept running from. You weren't in love with them. You were in love with the story you built around them. You were in love with potential, not reality. You were in love with the fantasy they fed you, the one you kept trying to finish with your own effort, your own patience, your own loyalty. And that's the hardest part. admitting that you were loyal to a version of them that never existed. But the moment you admit that, the spell starts to crack. Breaking the spell means remembering who the hell you were before they made you doubt your own worth, before you accepted less than you deserved, before you lowered your standards just to keep peace with someone who never intended to give you anything real. You gotta look at the situation with new eyes, the kind that ain't blinded by tears, memories, and what ifs. You gotta see that every time they pulled away, you ran closer. Every time they acted cold, you burned hotter. Every time they gave you silence, you replied with understanding. Every time they broke you, you tried to fix yourself and them at the same time. That ain't love. That's self-destruction in disguise. Breaking the spell means cutting the cord between your heart and their chaos. It means refusing to respond to the emotional breadcrumbs you once treated like a feast. It means walking away without needing closure, without needing them to explain, without needing them to finally validate the pain they caused. Closure ain't something they give you. Closure is the moment you realize, I was enough the whole time. They just weren't capable. Breaking the spell is brutal because it forces you to face your own reflection. You gotta look at the version of yourself that begged for attention, that worked overtime for the bare minimum, that waited for a love that never arrived. Not to shame that version, but to honor them, because that version of you fought. They carried hope when hope felt heavy. They tried when they were the only one trying. But that version can't stay. You can't heal in a place that keeps hurting you. You can't grow with someone who shrinks you. You can't shine next to someone who benefits from your darkness. Breaking the spell means choosing yourself, even when it hurts. Even when your hands shake. Even when your heart screams to go back. Because the spell lies. The spell tells you that your happiness depends on them. The spell whispers that you'll never feel something this strong again. The spell convinces you that walking away means losing. But the truth, walking away is the first real win you've had in a long time. When you break the spell, you reclaim your power. You reclaim your time. You reclaim your mind. And most importantly, you reclaim the version of you that forgot how powerful they were before the wrong person stepped into your world. Breaking the spell doesn't end with them losing you. It ends with you finding yourself again. The self that doesn't chase. The self that doesn't settle. The self that doesn't shrink for love. The self that finally knows anything that requires you to lose yourself was never worth keeping. So walk away even if your heart shakes. The moment you choose yourself, the spell shatters. And what's left standing ain't them. It's you finally awake,